I'm Chris Sauls, and this is Thinking Thursday, a podcast for engineers, coders, sysadmins, architects, and tech leaders who build the backbone of the modern world. This is for those who think in systems, dream in frameworks, and lead with curiosity. We don't just adapt to disruption, we anticipate it. We architect the future, even when the rest of the world doesn't understand what we're building. We're the ones who stay up late refactoring a solution because good enough never sits right. We are allergic to mediocrity, restless with routine, and wired for iteration, impact, and innovation. We aren't just surviving the AI wave, we're riding it, reimagining our careers, rewriting our companies, and re-engineering what leadership looks like in the world of layoffs, lean teams, and limitless change. Sure, we've been burned by broken systems, bad bosses, and bureaucracy masquerading as process, but we don't stop because we know something others don't. Every problem is solvable. Every system can scale. Every setback is a signal. While most are stuck obeying outdated org charts and titles, we lead from anywhere, from the code base, from the cloud, from the crisis. We are the self-leading, systems-thinking, impact-driven architects of what's coming next. And we don't wait for permission, we build it anyway. This is Thinking Thursday for the tech minds who lead with heart, grow through change, and never stop thinking. Hey everyone, it is episode 11. I am your host, Chris Sauls, and this is Thinking Thursday. Well, we have one today where it's really one of those places where I feel like as technologists, we oftentimes may miss out on some of this. But number one is consistency. Being consistent in what we do and how we do it allows us to be better at our roles, whether it's software developer, DevOps engineer, or otherwise. And then health and tech. What I'm going for there is, the thought is really, I know this is going to sound crazy, but as of January of this year, I did not have the ability to, I would say, bend down and tie my shoes because I had surgery back in November, had a spinal surgery, and I realized at that moment, I started a new fitness program, and it was really odd because it was a fairly aggressive fitness program, and I jumped into it and got to it. But where I'm going with that, or where I'm trying to iterate it, we really in the technology roles, I don't think often enough we lean into how much we need to think about our health. We sit a lot. For one, you can have a standing desk. And by the way, there's a lot of new information on standing desks that they're not as effective as we think they are. While we are standing, that does help us, but it is not as effective as actually getting out and taking a 5-minute walk or doing 10 squats every hour. There's a lot of research out there, guys. Anyway, moving on, the real point here on the consistency. So I talked last week, I spoke on the idea that my greatest skill that I had learned in technology was my ability to automate. My second best skill was learning how to communicate what I was automating and how to communicate in non-technical language. If we really, really break that down, the communications is the strongest part. As a leader, you have to be able to communicate. You have to be consistent about what you're communicating. If you're in a place today where there's a high rate of change and there's a lot happening, you still need to be consistent with your messaging. If you know those things exist, talk to your team about it. Let them know. Get into the details of it. Let them understand the why. That's a big part of being consistent, is always making sure your teams understand the why. It's very helpful to make sure that they are connected to the why. Getting the work done is pretty easy in general in most cases. Even in the complex systems, it can be easy to do. Most people can execute. Technologists just have we know that our jobs are troubleshooting and working through problems. That's what we are. We're problem solvers. That's what we do in the industry. It's one of the big things that we do. And if that's the case and we're out there and we're solving problems, we expect to encounter a certain amount of resistance on the other parts. but understanding why we're doing what we do really matters, and being consistent in that messaging really, really gets the point across to your team. Again, repeating things. If you're a leader and you think you're going to say it once and that team is going to execute it flawlessly going forward after that, back up and regroup. You're going to need to say it. You're going to need to say it again, and you're going to need to say it again. And you're going to have to do that week after week after week after week. It is a part of it. Repetition in making sure that we hold to standards, that we're consistent. The biggest thing is we don't shower once a week or once a shower only holds so long. At some point you start to smell. And that's the same thing with the idea behind, if you are not reiterating the message and keeping people inspired and encouraged, they're not going to be motivated to want to follow all of these, hey, change requests, orders, or the steps that are involved. They're going to get frustrated. And those things can be cumbersome at times. And if they are, you have to iterate the why you're doing that. What value is it adding to the business? What value is it adding to them? And basically, how's it helping them? And really thinking about that, I know a lot of people are like, well, you just got to do it. And I'm sure we've all heard this before. Just do it because I said so. That is not the best way by any means. Am I one that has probably said that? Yes. Probably more often than I want to believe I've said. Sometimes you have to encourage people to do it, but if you give them the why, you give them your why, you give them the vision, and they understand it, that consistency comes to play, and it really can move the needle a long ways. Okay, health and tech. And just thinking about the number of years that I worked in data centers, that I went from being on the road 37 weeks a year to sitting in a cube and writing code all day. Uh, One was a very active role out in the public eye, and spending time just, on the move constantly, physically involved in what was being implemented. And there was some parts of that even then where it was a lot of sitting to get certain things configured and set up and all of that part. But really the long hours of sitting and coding, and I remember a position where so funny. I remember there was a kitchen and there was an endless supply of Mountain Dew, Coca-Cola, Pepsi, chips, candy. I mean, it was all of the junk foods you could handle, and you had access to it all day. I hate to admit this, but I think I was probably drinking a six pack of soda or Coca-Cola or Mountain Dew every day. Easy 6 in a day. And that did not do well for my staying fit or being healthy. And over the years, you pay a price for those things. So if you're in that type of environment, just remember moderation is the way to go. Uh, Drink plenty of water. Get up and move every hour and be consistent with it. Let your boss know, let your teammates know, hey, I'm going to, you know, 5 minutes before we go into these meetings, I'm going to go take a walk and then I'll be in the meeting. Do those things. And if you're working from home, I've been working from home now for a long time. More than, I think more than half my career, I've worked from home at this point. And while it is such an advantage not to have to get in traffic and drive and go and do those things, or, that morning commute, that commute back home, not taking advantage of being at home and actually exercising, because throughout the day we have the ability to do that, and taking those breaks and making sure you're getting that in, get outside and get some fresh air. It's being consistent in that space is going to keep you healthy longer, which is going to give you the ability to do your job better. Thinking about that whole process of consistency, health, consistency in how you communicate as a leader, consistency, and this is also for the individual contributor, consistency on how you communicate to your boss and how you interact. Those things are critical for keeping cohesive teams, keeping the team in a cohesive state where everybody's connected together. The other thing is, if you notice somebody on your team, and this is as an individual contributor or a leader of a team, if you notice somebody on your team that they respond in a way that doesn't seem normal, that would mean that they're not being consistent at that moment. And you should, maybe get a few minutes with them. If nothing, take 5 minutes, say, hey, let's do our little online coffee break and have a conversation with them. It could be just ask some questions, say, hey, what's going on? How's the family doing? What's going on in life right now? Just find out. Be that person that takes an empathetic approach and don't think that anything tragically wrong, but take a moment to at least ask some questions and be focused on that, because that's going to go a long way with building that rapport as well, and be consistent with it. That's for every team member. That's not just for certain team members. That's for everyone. Be consistent with it. If you notice things that aren't normal going on, ask questions and spend some time with the people. And that's for the individual contributors as well. You got teammates. Hey, buddy up with your teammates. Take a look, find out what's going on, ask questions, be responsive in those spaces. Okay. I know it's Thinking Thursday. You guys have heard me say this. This podcast is really just thoughts that come to me, or things that I have either dealt with in the industry, or ways that I could help you to be a better leader or be a better individual contributor. The things that matter in these spaces that I have recognized over 3 decades, things that have helped me to move my career forward, things that have driven me to want to coach others in this space, because I've had a successful career, in my opinion, in this space, going from really all the way from 19 to $25,000 a year to well over 6 figures in a year. And just doing that in a fairly rapid amount of time, when you look at it over a career time, or a career 3 decades, needless to say. And when I look at that, I think back to, I remember doubling my salary at one point. Just in one job move, I doubled my salary. And when I made that move, I've made this statement to people before, and this is about consistency, right? I was not prepared. I had more money. I didn't have more freedom. I had more money, but it made my problems come faster. So I had to adjust my thinking. I had to go back and understand my finances better. I had to dig in a little deeper to understand how to live. What do you do? I mean, technically, yeah, you jump in, invest more, you put more money into your 401k, you do those things. But if you're just catching up, because like in that particular moment, I'd been through several layoffs, and that double up of salary was really that moment of kind of catching up. And many of you may be in that situation today with COVID and the things that have happened, or graduating university and not actually, hitting the ground running because the job market was really sucky, and you got out there and you realized, oh my gracious, I've been consistent on the way through school, but now I've suddenly got this problem. There's no role based on what I went to college for. There's no role that's there for me now. That doesn't exist. These things have changed. Obviously, COVID switched a lot of things for people. That still comes back to consistency. You have to consistently continue to move forward. Look at, what small skills that you need to learn to be able to get that position. And for me, there were a lot of little things along the way that I had to learn. I've said this many times, that just in time learning, along with the automation, that just in time learning skill that I built into my career was something I learned while I was in the military. Everything that they do there, in often cases, is just in time learning. I mean, you join the military, and in 8 weeks' time, depending on what branch, I went in in the Army. So we had an 8 weeks of basic training. And during that, you've got people there that they've never been away from home. They've never physically exercised every day. They've never shot a weapon before. And in 8 weeks, all of you have to be at a similar level, and definitely at the same level of understanding. And they do just in time learning. You learn it and you repeat it, you repeat it, you repeat it. And I learned that skill I honed while I was in the military. And then once I got out, I continued to do it. I think right now we're living in a time with AI and all of these various tools that have come along, and we're not understanding that it is our responsibility, either as a leader, as an individual contributor, as anyone in a corporate office, it is your responsibility for your professional development. They may offer professional development hours, but it is on you to pick your curriculum and move forward. They may lay out some course structure, but most of us early in my career, I had gone, like I said, I had gone to high school, I had gone in the military. So I understood that there was a curriculum. But then when I was in the corporate world, there were things that I needed to learn, but there was no structured curriculum. So I had to start building my own. And you have to do that today. So if you are a recent college graduate and the job market has not panned out for the way you wanted it to, my best recommendation right now is to look at what skills you need to add to what you learned in college, because you've already proven that you can learn based on a curriculum. Build a curriculum for yourself. If you don't know how to do that, contact me. Just shoot me a message, put curriculum at the bottom in the comments, and I will respond, and we can go back and forth and figure out some things to try to help you get ahead in the job market today. Just had this discussion this morning. There is a shift, and we know this. Everybody sees it. If you haven't understood that there's a shift in automation and AI right now, AI being out in front as the, I guess, the buzzword or the tools that you're seeing. But in automation and AI, there is no doubt right now that around AI, machine learning, large language models, this is the one where I don't think people are really looking at close enough just yet. Small language models. Roles are changing. There are roles that are being eliminated, not people, not jobs. The roles are being eliminated, but they are going to spin up in these other spaces around small language models, machine learning, understanding what the AI is doing. I don't know if you're using AI right now or not. And really, to be completely honest with you, if you're not, I feel like you're missing out on the best opportunity in the world of tech. There is nothing like it to be a good tool for yourself to be able to progress forward. You can get it to teach you the skills you need to get your next role. And I don't care if it's a leadership role or otherwise, you can ask it and work with it to get you the answers that you need to be able to make the next steps. Again, but that is about understanding what you need. And that is where, if you don't understand how to build a curriculum, you don't understand how to lay out your training route for yourself, drop curriculum in the chat. I will come back and answer that. All right, I got to wrap this up. I'm over on time today. I know that right now seems like crazy times. I've looked at tons of tools. I'm going to make a comment here really quickly. I'm going to make this comment, and I want to be careful about how I state it, because I don't want to call out any specific vendors out there, but I do want to let the folks know that are out here using AI, and those of us that want to use AI tools, be careful what you do and what you trust as you're using the tools. Give my experience of what I went through over the last few weeks. I had a friend of mine make a comment that don't copy and paste. Like if you're using AI to write for you, don't copy and paste that into posts or into a blog post, or don't copy it directly. Like take it and do more to it and make sure that it's got your voice and all those things. I have worked on my model and played and worked through that thing where I've communicated with it enough that it speaks like me and does that. But I decided to do what he was doing. I took the output and I carried it over to 5 different tools that analyze AI written to tell you if it's AI written text or not. Hands down, each one came between 71 and like up to 79% AI written. Very expected, because I literally had it write something out. I just copied it and pasted it directly over. Now I went back and wrote those exact same pieces of content in my Eastern North Carolina language, I did use proper grammar. I did use some y'alls, threw some things in there. And when I put it back into these checkers, and remember, I said the one that was fully AI written was 71 to 79% on 5 different tools. When I put mine that were written in my voice exactly by me, by hand, kid you not, 96% AI across the board. Every one of them said it was AI written. So I'm telling you now, the tools that are out there, you got to understand how they function. You got to understand what's going on with the tool. So if you're writing something via AI and you've got it writing in your voice and you're doing that, learn how to tailor the language. Learn how to add, as another friend of mine told me yesterday, Jason Clark, if you're looking for him on LinkedIn, what he made a statement was he's got like a sub component at the end when he does his writing for it to go back. It would be like a suffix, I guess you could say, to the way his prompt is written. And if you're doing that, you've got to have it to write in your persona. Is give it the rules. Tell it the things that you don't want it to do. Tell it how it should put the data together, how it should word the sentences. Maybe you've got some, I don't know, maybe you have some eloquent way that you speak, or there's a particular phrase that you use. And if you have that phraseology and people know you for it, make sure it uses it. Don't limit yourself and don't try to be 100% grammatically correct in everything that you put out. I mean, yes, be coherent, but the simple fact is we don't talk completely or grammatically correct in everyday conversation. I've probably said a bunch of words today that I shouldn't have. I probably have non-words in this particular podcast. I have probably said a couple of phrases that I use that I shouldn't use that often, and I have to go back and review those. But that's just practice for yourself. Again, if you're having a conversation with someone and you're sending them something, let it sound like you. And don't be afraid to use the AI. My belief right now is AI is going to give us, the technologists, businesses in general, we're going to have to become more human. It's going to take away some of the mundane things that we've had to do in the last 20, 30 years in writing code, developing certain solutions. It's going to remove some of that. We still need to understand how it's done, but we're not going to need to do it because we're going to be able to get these AI assistants to do these things for us. And they're going to be more efficient at it because they're going to know to follow the rules, and they're going to follow the rules every time. I can go over my career, the number of times of being consistent that way. It's hard to get people to be that consistent. That's the reason why automation, it's repeatable. If you get something automated correctly, and when I say correctly, I really truly do mean that phrase, it's automated correctly, it'll execute 1,000 times in a row the exact same way. Every day, every time you do it, it'll do it the same. It's hard to get a human being to do that. The other thing is, do you really want to be a robot? I don't. So wrapping this up, this is Thinking Thursday, episode 11, consistency and health in tech. Be consistent with how you communicate with your team. Consistently communicate the why. Consistently take time to focus on your health throughout your workday. Talk to you next week.